Dear listeners, today we bring two stories of epic revenge. Please show your support by hitting the subscribe button and share your thoughts on the story in the comments section. Let's start with the first story. A few years back, my life hit a rough patch when I found out my marriage wasn't as happy as I thought. We were a regular family, 2 kids, good jobs, but things got tough. We were both busy with work, and tensions at home were rising. I noticed my wife spending a lot of time texting her friends, especially a guy named Jim Bob Cooter, JBC. I tried to fix things by being more present, but it didn't help. One day, I found some iffy messages on her Facebook when I was using my son's iPad. I took a day off to make her happy, but she was still texting away. That's when I decided to check those messages. They hinted at something more between her and JBC. I felt betrayed and confronted her. She admitted to an emotional affair. The pain was intense, and I had to decide what to do next. Instead of letting it break me, I hatched a plan for revenge. I won't spill the details, but it involved some clever moves and a bit of karma. The satisfaction of turning things around felt good. I swiped my son's iPad and checked Facebook Messenger at my office. What I saw was like a punch in the gut, my wife and Jim Bob tearing me apart. They were mocking everything about me, my flaws, insecurities, and even our intimate moments. I felt betrayed and hurt. I took screenshots, but she was deleting messages as they talked. I couldn't face her right away, so I stayed at the office until she fell asleep, drowning my sorrows in a few drinks. The next day, I took some time off to think things through. When my wife asked what was wrong, I dodged the question, saying I had a bad day. For the next couple of weeks, I kept watching their conversations unfold on the iPad. The messages turned more explicit, and my wife seemed fully into it, with Jim Bob throwing in I love yous. I consulted a lawyer to understand my options and decided to move forward with a divorce. Things got crazier when I found out Jim Bob was coming to town for a weekend with my wife in a nice hotel. I was missing some details, but I gathered enough to catch them in the act. The next day, my wife was suddenly sweet, suggesting a spa weekend with her friends to relax and promising to focus on our marriage when she got back. It was surreal, and I knew there was no turning back from this mess. I went along with her plan, thinking it was a great idea to give us a chance to fix things. I got a lawyer to help draft a strong separation agreement. It stated that she would move out, get weekend visitation with the kids, and no child support until the divorce was final. The next 2 weeks were agonizing, and most of my feelings for her were gone. I was just angry. On the big day, I took time off work. I withdrew half of any money from joint accounts and left her half alone. I had redirected my paycheck to a new bank, closed our money market account, and prepared a cashier's check for her. I printed 75 pages of Facebook Messenger screenshots. I didn't want to be at home, so I killed time until she texted me that she was taking off and loved me. I showed up at the hotel at 8:30, called her from the lobby, but it went to voicemail. I decided to bluff and called Jim Bob's room, pretending to know about his wife. Panicking, he sent my wife down. I confronted her in the lobby, showing her the screenshots. I gave her a check for her share, told her to move out immediately, and handed her a separation agreement. I threatened to expose everything if she didn't comply. She cried, and I left, hearing her breakdown. In my car, I had my own breakdown. Over the weekend, she called and texted, wanting to talk, but I turned off my phone. By Monday afternoon, movers were getting her stuff, and she delivered the signed agreement. She had a talk with the kids about needing time apart. After a week, she wanted to talk again, apologizing and wanting another chance to reunite the family. I went along with her plan, but deep down, I had no intention of taking her back. She was on her knees, crying into my lap, pleading for forgiveness. I told her she needed to set up marriage counseling on her own, at a time that worked for me. I couldn't live with her, but I suggested she be around the children to maintain a relationship with them. Our new normal involved her coming over 3 nights a week, cooking, having dinner with the kids, and cleaning the house. I made myself scarce during her visits. We went to counseling, where she worked through her issues, trying to figure out why she did it. She begged for forgiveness, but I played the victim, never intending to give her another chance. After a few months, I decided to see my own therapist and got diagnosed with depression and PTSD. I asked my work if I could go part-time to deal with personal issues, and they were understanding. The plan was to establish myself as the primary caregiver for the kids and ensure she didn't have residency in the house. After 6 months of therapy, I told her I couldn't forgive her right now. I wanted an amicable divorce, but I mentioned she was still the love of my life, and maybe someday we could try again. She agreed to the divorce, devastated but hopeful for the future. Once the divorce was filed, I needed the kids to want to stay with me. I strategically left searches on the shared PC about surviving infidelity and printed out articles on infidelity, not so hidden in the kitchen. When my daughter found them, I comforted her, saying Mom made a mistake but still loved her. Not surprisingly, when the court needed statements from the kids, they both wanted to stay with me in the house they grew up in. When the divorce was finalized, I got the house, had to buy out something for equity, but it was worth it. I got primary custody of the kids and generous child support. For the past 2 years, I've lived in the house with my kids, working part-time, with my ex subsidizing it. On weekends without the kids, I enjoy my time with Tinder matches and friends with benefits. In the eyes of my kids, I'm the devoted father who took the high road. To my ex, I'm the one that got away, and I even get the bonus of having her come over for intimacy whenever I want, all while knowing that getting back together will never happen. Now, for the second story. When I was 14 or 15, my mother was married to a man who had an adult son from a previous marriage. I think he was in his mid-20s, living the hippie life on the streets by choice. About once a year, he would hitchhike his way to our house with his friends, do copious amounts of laundry and weed, and generally just take over as if it was their house. They even left the gas burners on once because they forgot they turned the stove on. Like any teenage girl, I was obsessed with my clothes. I had laundry sitting in the dryer, including these awesome corduroy pants that I had only worn once. Stepbro and his friends were doing laundry, and instead of doing something normal like moving my stuff aside or putting it in my room, they decided, oh man, it would be so dope to cut these up and make, like, a sweet cape. So that's what they did. I saw Stepbro wearing this cape and recognized the material. "Are those my pants?" I exclaimed. They were in the laundry, man, you know, like finders keepers. I was furious, and his dad wouldn't do anything about it. My mom was pissed because she had just bought these for me, and they were pricey. Mom didn't like this annual intrusion, but to keep her marriage, she put up with it. I wanted to get back at Stepbro, but he had nothing of value because of his lifestyle. Then I remembered overhearing my parents fighting, and my mom had mentioned that Stepbro had got a girl pregnant, and the kid was like 2 years old. He hadn't given the girl a penny or even seen the child since it was born. The next day, my parents were at work, Stepbro was hanging out, listening to music or something. I decided to call the cops. I wasn't sure what to say, but I told the dispatcher I knew of someone who might have a warrant out for failure to pay child support. Before you say, how would a teenager know about that? Well, my birth father had a similar issue, so I was familiar with it. The dispatcher asked for the name, and I gave Stepbro's name. They confirmed there was, in fact, a warrant out for him. I gave my address and waited. 20 minutes later, the cops roll up. They knock, and I let them in, leading them right to him. "He's right here, officers," I said, unable to stop smiling. They cuff him and take him off to jail. An hour later, my mom calls the house after Stepbro had used his phone to call his dad, and I tell her exactly what I did. She whispered, "Good job," but then pretended to loudly reprimand me as she was with Stepdad. Stepdad couldn't get the fine and bail money together fast enough, so Stepbro had to sit in jail overnight. It still makes me happy, 20 years later, to remember seeing him being taken away in a cop car. My mom luckily divorced that guy and is now married to a very nice man. Well, looks like it's pretty clear who wears the pants in this family. In another incident, I thought I'd share a story from work. I work for a construction company that does remodeling on homes. We have a rule that we get to keep anything we find hidden behind the walls. We hired this guy who was a total a-hole from day one. I've been working for this company for 5 years, and this guy had only been doing construction for 1 year after getting fired from his accounting job for getting a DUI. Anyways, he would make fun of my clothes and my accent, and one day he went too far by telling my boss about my private Instagram account. He got on my phone, looked through my Instagram page, and showed my boss pictures of me smoking weed. Little did he know that my boss is my friend from 8 years ago when we used to smoke together before we quit. I was so mad that he violated my privacy. Then I made a plan to mess him over. He was the kind of guy who would always come in late and complain that trains or traffic were the reason he was always late. One day, I overheard him saying that if he won the lottery, he would quit this job for not getting the respect he deserves. You have to earn respect here, I thought. So, I bought some fake gold coins online and put them in a metal box I found at the antique store. I waited for a chance to hide it in a wall, and luckily, I didn't have to wait long. The day he found the coins, it seemed like it was his best day ever. The first thing he did when he opened the box was to call my boss, talking about being a loser and quitting immediately on the spot. He proudly declared, "At this place, I'm rich." Little did he know that it was the best day of my life. After he quit, my boss told us that he was going to fire him anyway for always showing up late. I wish I could see the look on his face when he finds out the gold coins are fake. It was the best $40 I spent in my life. What makes this story even better is that selling counterfeit goods is actually illegal in a lot of places, and trying to scam businesses is not a smart move. I like to imagine this guy walked into some pawn store all smug, saying, "I want to sell my gold," and then gets arrested or something because, it's a scam. You can't roll into a business, try to buy something with fake currency, and expect it to work. Oh, I would have paid money to know what happened to this guy after he left the construction site.